Your eye just did something you didn't notice. Looking at these two photos, one of them your eye moved through easily, landed somewhere, felt satisfied. The other one it wandered around, found nothing to hold on to, and gave up. Same phone, same subject, same light. The difference isn't the camera, it's that one of these photographers understood something most people never think about. Your eye is never still, and once you understand what it's doing, you'll never shoot the same way again. When someone looks at your photo, they don't absorb it all at once. The eye scans. It moves from point to point in the first few seconds, making a journey through the frame. Every viewer does this, every time, whether you planned for it or not. You don't control whether the journey happens. You only control whether it goes somewhere meaningful or gets lost. That's the shift in thinking that changes everything. You're not arranging objects in a frame. You're directing an experience. Every journey has a starting point. In a photograph, three things compete to pull the eye in first. Brightness. The lightest area in the frame gets looked at first, always. The eye moves toward light. Contrast. Where tones are most different, dark next to bright, the eye goes there. High contrast is a magnet. Sharpest focus. When one area is crisp and everything else softens, the eye goes to what's clear. Whichever combination of these three is strongest in your frame, that's your entry point. If two areas compete equally, the eye hesitates, and hesitation is death. The viewer's attention breaks, the photo loses them before they've even started the journey. So you choose the entry point before you shoot. By controlling where light falls, where you place your focus, what you position against a contrasting background. The entry point isn't an accident. It's a decision. If your photo ever feels off, and you can't explain why, this is usually the reason. Once the eye enters, it follows paths. You've already seen these patterns. You just haven't named them. Your eye entered, swept across, dropped, swept back. That's a Z. Landscapes, wide scenes, open spaces. The eye reads the frame the way it reads a page. Left to right, then back. Your eye went in, moved around, and came back. That's a loop. Portraits, intimate scenes, anything you want the viewer to linger in. A circular composition doesn't let go easily. It keeps the eye inside. 3 points. Your eye bounced between them. That's balance. 3 visual anchor points the eye moves between: stable, satisfying, classic for portraits with environmental context, architecture, any scene with 3 strong elements. You don't need to design these patterns consciously every time you shoot. You need to feel whether the eye is moving or stuck. If you look at your own photo and your eye doesn't know where to go, your viewers won't either. Beyond patterns, 3 forces are acting on your viewer's eye at all times. Most photographers never name them, but you'll recognize them the moment you see them. Some elements feel heavier than others. A large dark mass, a saturated color against neutral surroundings, a single isolated object in open space. Even a dense cluster of fine detail against an empty field carries weight. The busy area pulls the eye, even when nothing in it is large or bright. The eye is drawn to visual weight, the way attention is drawn to the loudest voice in a room. Where you place visual weight, determines where the eye wants to rest. Put it where you want the viewer to look. Where a subject faces, the eye follows. An outstretched arm, a person's gaze across the frame, a dog looking off to the right, implied movement toward the right. These are invisible arrows inside your photograph. A subject facing into the frame holds the eye in. A subject facing out of the frame pulls it toward the edge and out. Watch where your subjects are pointed. They're directing your viewer, whether you told them to or not. Warm colors advance. Cool colors recede. A splash of red in a field of green will get looked at first, every time. And size doesn't override it. A tiny red dot will beat a large green field for the eye's attention. Color dominates. High saturation dominates low saturation, and color echoes. The same hue appearing in two places in the frame create a visual path between them. The eye travels the connection, point to point, like following stepping stones. These three forces are always operating. The photographer who becomes aware of them stops making lucky photos and starts making intentional ones. In 1941, Ansel Adams was commissioned to photograph the national parks. World War II curtailed the project, but the photographs survived. They're public domain now, available to anyone. Here is one of them. Look at it, don't analyze it, just notice where your eye goes. You entered in the lower right, where the river catches the light. Then you moved. The river curved left and you followed it. It pulled you upstream through the valley and then lifted you without being asked all the way to the Teton Peaks. You didn't decide to look at the mountains. The river took you there. That is a leading line, not a straight line, a directional invitation. A road, a shadow, a fence, anything in the frame that says go this way. My next video is entirely about leading lines because they deserve it, but understand this now. The Snake River is doing more compositional work than the Teton Mountains are. The mountains are the destination, the river is the journey. You already have rivers in your images, they just might not be water. Where your horizon sits and what anchors your foreground determines whether the Z completes cleanly or collapses. Every journey needs a destination. After the eye enters your frame and travels through it, it needs somewhere to land, a resting point. Somewhere with enough visual weight, enough clarity, enough presence to say, here, stop here. Usually that's your subject. Usually it's where your sharpest focus lives. Usually it's where the strongest visual weight sits. When those three things coincide, sharp focus, visual weight, and intentional placement, the eye arrives and stays. The viewer feels satisfied without knowing why. The photo holds them. When they don't coincide, when the sharpest thing in the frame isn't the most important thing, or when visual weight pulls the eye somewhere unintentional, the viewer feels vaguely unsatisfied. They move on, and they don't know why either. Your resting point is your subject. Treat it like a destination worth arriving at. Most photos don't fail in the middle. They fail at the edges. Check your edges. The borders of your frame are where photos quietly fail. An element pointing toward the corner, a road leading directly out, a subject facing the edge, a blown highlight at the border pulling the eye toward it and out. All of these are exits, and once the eye leaves your frame, it's gone. But there's a tool that solves this problem and does something even more powerful at the same time. Framing. Not the border around your photo, framing within the photo, using elements in your scene to create a natural boundary around your subject. Two trees on either side of a barn, an archway over a street scene, a window looking through to the subject beyond, overhanging branches above a landscape. Here in the Sonoran Desert, the arms of a sahuaro on either side of a mountain view. You're not just stopping the eye from leaving, you're pointing it inward. The arms don't just contain the viewer, they direct them. Framing does three things simultaneously. It stops the eye from exiting, it directs the eye toward your subject, and it adds depth. Foreground frame, middle subject, background context. 3 layers of information from a single compositional decision. Look for frames within your scene before you raise your phone. They're already there. Doorways, branches, rock formations, the space between two people, the gap between buildings. The frame within the frame is one of the most elegant tools in photography. And once you start seeing them, you'll find them everywhere. Before you tap the shutter, 4 questions. They take about 3 seconds. Once they become habit, where will the eye enter? Have you given it a clear, intentional entry point? Brightness, contrast, focus. Where will it travel? Is there a path through the frame? A pattern, a leading line, a directional cue? Where will it rest? Is your subject carrying enough visual weight and clarity to be a satisfying destination? Is anything pulling it out? Check your edges. Is there an exit you didn't intend? Can framing help? 4 questions, 3 seconds. That's the difference between a photo that holds a viewer and one they scroll past. Go back to the 2 photos we started with. You see them differently now. You can trace the path the eye takes through one and feel exactly where it gets lost in the other. That's not talent. That's knowledge. And knowledge is trainable. Your eye followed Ansel Adams' river to the Tetons. Without being asked, your viewer's eye will follow the paths you build into your photos without being asked either. Build them something worth following. Once you see the path, you can't unsee it. Next time, leading lines. The river was just the beginning. In the next video, we go deep. How to find them, how to use them, how to see them everywhere you look. They're already in your frame. You just haven't noticed them yet.